morning, guys. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training. On my way out the door here. Overcast and rain, a little bit of rain showers last night, and a little bit of sprinkles today, kind of ugly. It'll be scattered. They weren't showers. I don't know if you have showers, but it's overcast and kind of ugly, colder. It's a little bit harder to wake up this morning and get my day going, but I took my time just knowing that I can just relax and put it all together and then get out the door. So I've got my hot dogs all chopped. And now the day in the life of a dog trainer, right? So I've got 3 dogs in the back right now that I've got obligated to make sure I turn out for the customer, right? We've got Bruno, the Czech Shepherd. We've got Benzo, the 18-month-old Malinois that didn't have any real set structure. We've got it going now. He feels like he's had some work done, but at the same time, it's all about the dog and his atmosphere and the way that family treats him and how he's been allowed to basically be an over precocious, lunging, jumping on him, all that kind of thing. That precociousness that comes in from the dog learning to be the cock of the walk and having no structure around what he's supposed to do and them not knowing. So we're just basically trying to reprogram his brain to think a different way and to be more in tune with work versus chasing bugs and shadow chasing and light chasing and all that stuff that he's doing. Where his head was at before, once we get done with this, his head's going to be into working and routine and pattern and structure with me. And then we've got to transfer it over to them. So that's what I'm more worried about with the Benzo account, is basically trying to make sure that they get in and really be committed to making sure he doesn't backslide and doesn't go into the same old behaviors, because it's so easy to do. I mean, we all have our habits and behavior patterns, the family, the mother getting up with the kids and getting them off to school and all this stuff that people have in their lifestyles that end up needing to be changed when you're dealing with a dog like this. So to the owner of Benzo, I would suggest getting yourself a kennel, having it on the cement, the patio somewhere that he doesn't have dirt, so we don't let that behavior go. And the only time he comes out of that kennel is really in a structure of work, and then you let him have releases in between that. So we'll talk about it more as we go along, but the getting the value out of the service that I give. And if you want to have a dog, and a lot of people do, they see my dogs, man, I'd love to have a dog like that. Well, to have a dog like that takes work, right? And it takes a committed pattern and routine and structure, is what we call it, right? Behind what the dog's whole demeanor in life is and how he perceives the world is basically molded and shaped by you, as you go along and get into this. So again, you getting off the couch, putting the work, to really being committed to learn and grow and take advantage of what I've got to give you, which is 30, 40 years of experience. I'm willing to give you the world of my clients. I do everything I can to try to get them to learn and grow, right? There's only so much I can do based on a lot of different factors, and those factors get in the way. So I won't go into that now, but in a general sense, we've got to do something to tailor, make it for you. Teactor Supply has good kennels. They're a little more expensive right now because of what's going on with the economy, but in a general sense, the 5x10 is what I live by when I go to buy kennels from Teactor Supply. Why? They're modular. I can add to them, and I can slowly add more kennels on them. They've got a nice 10x10 that has a dog door in the back. They've got them all designed where you could buy a dog house, you can do all this stuff with them, but that 10x10 is not modular. I can't add to it in a very functional way. So commercial kennels and most kennel sizes are usually about a 5x10, maybe larger if you wanted to. I've got a 10x5 and a custom that I did, which was one big square and a center that goes down. So I had 2 kennels that were there. I've still got to set up the new place. But so in a general sense, 5x10 is good enough. 10 foot long, 5 foot wide, right? All right, so back to Benzo. He's doing very good. I just took him out this morning on a potty break. I'll send out the video at some point to the owner. But I'm happy with what I see. The dog's head's starting to come into line. He's starting to be more receptive to understanding what he's supposed to do, and we're on our way, right? Slow but sure. The muzzle work, where the muzzle goes on him in Teactor Supply, I did a lot of letting people pet him this weekend, and he's diving into him. He's rubbing that muzzle like he wants it off his head, but he's rubbing into the people, so it's not a bad thing. I just got to be very cautious as I do this, and then as soon as the muzzle comes off, look for it to be that behavior to be curtailed, where he's not wanting to mouth and bite at people, right? So it's going to take a little bit of work and a little bit of risk when we finally do take off the muzzle in public. He's not really a vicious dog. He just didn't know any better. He's insecure and not sure of what's supposed to be done, etc. And that's why we set up pattern and routine, right? I'm greeting him into people in my greeting routine. Slow but sure, it's harder to feed him in the muzzle with the hot dogs, but we'll keep it up 2 or 3 more days. Maybe by the end of the week, by this next weekend, if we've got enough work put in, hopefully he will be good enough to take the muzzle off, and we can start working with people feeding him outside of the muzzle, right? So we'll go through that. The greeting routine that I do is something that I believe in for the general public. You'll see law enforcement want the dog to learn to be neutral and not really give a hoot about anybody that's around him, and they don't get petted, right? Because they've got a more specific job and a little bit more man orientation. Civilians, we want a dog that's got that. We want a dog that's going to do the job in the end, but I need him to have a little bit less of an edge on the knife, right? To not be as sharp, because that sharpness will get you in trouble. And so that's why law enforcement, that's their whole protocol is totally different, right? With what they do with their daily. The dog's put in a kennel. He's not usually around people as much. There are some departments that have dogs that are stable. When I sold Dutch, my old Dutch Shepherd, and sold him, he got flipped to a cop shop. The biggest thing they were looking for was a dog to be able to go out and do demos at the schools and all that. Well, my training process fit very well with that dog, because that dog was good with people, kids, and all that good stuff. But as they put a lot of pursuits, a lot of door pops, all that good stuff, that dog fell right in to being able to do his job in a very concerted way. I don't know what's going on with him now, but I was very proud of what I turned out. And he went through the school as far as the canine, and I'm not sure who did the specific training for the street. They usually go to a bite school that will go 6-8 weeks, and they pair them up with the officer, and the officer's got a bond with them, and they have a concerted effort towards getting put more edge on the dog, a lot of pursuits, a lot of chases, finding the bad guys, searching, all that good stuff. And then I think that Dutch has been trained in drugs and or bomb. I'm not positive, to be honest with you. I could find out. But so in a general sense, that dog's now using his nose, and I'm sure he did good with that too, because I had a lot of that primed already, with the way I do and how I do it. So all right, I'll let you guys go. And then I've got 3 dogs in the back. We've got the Shepherd, Benzo, and then another one that I just got in, another small little Mallee that's a little bit nervy, right? What I mean by nervy is he's his teeth are going, and there's 2 sides to this. It's genetic somewhat, but more so it's about the development of the animal. And I've got some philosophies and some thought in that regards too that maybe I'll get into at some point. But I'm pretty good with my puppies, and so I have a certain way that I build that pup, right, and that dog. We'll go over that a little later. I don't have all the accoutrements that I'd like to have, a nice bottle pit and all the stuff that you want to have for puppies to develop the puppies. I need a lot more toys and things that I have in my environment to add to this. As we go along, we will. I hope to get some litters going with Jessie. Jessie's a Arrow, not daughter. She is, she got Arrow and another male. Well, it goes back to Arrow, put it that way. Daisy was her mother, and her mother Daisy's been bred an awful lot back in the Chicago area, and has done pretty good with some of the nice studs that he's paired her with, and this is one of her litters. This is Daisy is the mom. So, and then Jessie that'll get my bloodlines staying, in line with what my bloodlines were through Arrow, right? Arrow's bloodlines were to die for, So that being the case is kind of where it goes back to. Does she have a BRN number? No. Do I care? Not really. As long as I know what that dog has been bred and I have a general sense of that dog's genetics, I know that she goes back to Arrow. So, and then Daisy was a hell of a bitch. So, real twitchy, real fast, real confident. I was real happy with that. That was when I was getting those litters. The bitches were coming out sharper and nicer than the males. And it was like, and then Buddy, that's Daisy's is Buddy's sister, right? Daisy and Buddy are litter mates. And so you can kind of see with Buddy what the whole nature of that's going to be. So I've got a guy that's got a nice stud that I want to breed her to, so we'll find out how that goes. But if you're looking for papers with me, a lot of times you may not find it, because I could give a hoot about admin, right? I do my R&D and I figure out what I've got, but at the same time, a good dog to me is a good dog, and it's how you develop that animal that matters. So you're going to see, it's not an AKC backyard bred dog, I'll guarantee you, but I don't have papers. I don't care about it as much. I'm kind of like the cops. Cops are the same way. What really matters is what that dog does on the street, how he does his job, how good is he with his nose, and then we'll go back to that and produce some puppies, and then with your environment, you mold and shape that dog into the finished product, and you're on your way. So that's what matters to me. So, all right, guys, I'll let you go. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, yakking at the screen about dogs as always. You guys have a good day and enjoy your cloudy and rainy day here in Southern California. Talk to you later.